Hi, everybody. This is the Hungry Math Professor here. Thanks for coming to my channel. And today I'm going to be reviewing this book entitled Wittgenstein's Poker by David Edmonds and John Eidinow. And by the way, just so you know, the difference between a discussion and a review, a discussion means I'm going to get in way more into the details. It'll be a little longer of a video, and review is going to be on the order of 5 minutes, and I'm just going to kind of tease it out and not get into the details very much. And so this book I learned about from one of my favorite podcasts, Making Sense podcasts. It's on episode 321 where they talk about Parfit, but this book came up and then I bought it. So I'll link to that episode and you can check out the podcast if you're interested in. What is this book about? Well, it's interesting because it's part history, it's part biography, it's part philosophy, and then there's just a legend story and good storytelling. So it's very readable, and you'll learn some philosophy about two big philosophers, and you'll also get an interesting story and learn some history about Europe and biography of these two main characters as well as many other characters. So it tells the story of two philosophers, Karl Popper, who lived from 1902 to 1994, and Ludwig Wittgenstein, who lived from 1889 to 1951. Both were born in Vienna, Austria-Hungary. And so that's interesting that they're sort of born in the same country and how they sort of overlap throughout their careers. And the book centers around one sort of legendary story. Legendary because the story definitely happened, but it's one of those things where a lot of the details is not so clear which details to believe in at this point. And the book is very good about making that clear that, we don't know exactly what happened and we have various different testimony and who knows exactly what happened, but it's still an interesting legendary story. And in some sense, maybe the details are not that important at this point anyway. But it tells the meeting, the sort of 10-minute meeting between these two big philosophers, which is interesting that they never really cross paths at any other point. And the meeting ends very abruptly, very quickly with, Wittgenstein storming out of the room is how it goes. So and he kind of threatens Karl Popper with this poker from the fireplace. So interesting meeting of these two philosophers, and it centers around their disagreement about philosophy and what is the role of philosophy. So the lecture which Popper was supposed to give at this particular meeting, he was invited to Ludwig Wittgenstein's seminar, and he was supposed to give this talk entitled "Are There Philosophical Problems?" And this is because Wittgenstein believed that there weren't really any genuine philosophical problems, that there were just these like linguistic puzzles that we needed to figure out. And Popper greatly disagreed and thought that there really were philosophical problems. And so, he was coming to defend this point of view. And I just want to read a few quotes from the book, and then I'll I'll leave that at that and recommend that you read this. So here are some quotes from Popper. Um, so the later Wittgenstein used to speak of puzzles caused by the philosophical misuse of language. I can only say that if I had no serious philosophical problems and no hope of solving them, I should have no excuse for being a philosopher. To my mind, there would be no apology for philosophy. So he's saying if there are no genuine philosophical problems, then why are we doing philosophy at all? And so Popper compared the interest in language to the practice of cleaning spectacles. Language philosophers might think this is worthwhile in itself. Serious philosophers realize that the only point of this cleaning is to enable the wearer to see the world more clearly. Right? The whole point of doing this language philosophy and clearing up language was to then point out, using that clearing of language, the cleaning of the spectacles, to then do philosophy. Right? And Karl Popper is famous for his philosophy of science. So I'll also read this quote from the book. Um, Valid science offers itself up to scrutiny and makes predictions that can be tested. The bolder the predictions, the better. Pseudoscience, in which category Popper lumped both neo-Marxism and Freudian psychoanalysis, either declines to submit itself to any test or makes predictions, but then finds a way of explaining away apparently conflicting evidence. Right. So this was a big thing for Popper and his philosophy of science was, that you need to make predictions, you need to be falsifiable, and he makes that a big part of his philosophy of science. And then a few quotes by Wittgenstein. People say again and again that philosophy doesn't really progress, that we are still occupied with the same philosophical problems as were the Greeks. But the people who say that don't understand why this has to be so. It is because our language has remained the same and keeps seducing us into asking the same questions. And so another quote is that Wittgenstein also felt that philosophy was to show the fly the way out of the fly bottle, or to untie knots in the mind. So again, it's this emphasis on philosophy is about just explaining these like linguistic puzzles and explaining why you thought you had this deep philosophical question, but really the question is not that interesting once you understand sort of how the language is involved in making this puzzle. Um, that you thought was quite deep. So the book is really interesting again because you get history and biography of these characters. You see lots of different people come along. You learn about the Vienna Circle, which is famous for logical positivism and involved a lot of like big intellectuals at the University of Vienna at between like 1924 and 1936. So it's a really good book. It's very readable, and you do learn some philosophy of these two characters that may make you want to dig in deeper. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you at another video.